So a quick review of this. We have done root cause analysis, and under that we have done brainstorming, cause and effect, and root cause verification matrix. We've done graphical analysis, Pareto diagrams, box plots, statistical analysis, hypothesis testing, correlation, regression, design of experiments. And today we are going to talk about analysis Tollgate checklist. All of you type ATC in the chat box for analysis Tollgate checklist. And now today's session will be very, very simple. There is no technical stuff in today's session. It is going to be complete, quick summary of analysis phase and all the checklist that you need to take care of in the analysis phase before you go to the improve phase. So it is going to be a theoretical stuff. There is no technical involved in this. How many of you are excited about this? Type XITD in the chat box. Because it's a theoretical stuff, I'm not going to read and explain each and every line. I'll be running over things. You need to take notes. You need to comprehend and write that. Today is going to be a simple session. Okay. Now, in this analysis Tollgate checklist, it ensures that we have known about DMAC methodology: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. And we have defined the problem. We have measured the current state through data. We have analyzed the current state, find out the causes for the problem, the root causes for the problem. And then we have to move to the improve phase. And before we move to the improve phase, we needed to validate certain things. Okay, all of you type DMAIC in the chat box. Just sure that you know this terminology: define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Now we have finished define, we have finished measure. Now we are going to finish analyze, and the Tollgate, we have a checklist. After you tick all the things in the Tollgate, we'll be moving towards the improve phase of this methodology. And for those who actually wanted these earlier videos, who wanted to actually start off, who wanted to become a lifelong learner, please stay till the end. I have a great opportunity for you. Now, we will recap the analysis phase. We will talk about the purpose of this Tollgate. Why do we need this Tollgate? And I will show you the checklist and the overview of this checklist. And then we will validate we have to validate some problem statements. We'll have to make sure that the data, whatever that we have gathered and analyzed, is accurate and complete. And I'll also quickly give you the overview of analysis tools that we use in this phase. And I'll go into this hypothesis testing overview, a summary. And then in the analysis phase, we have used process capability and performance evaluation. I'll also talk about the summary of that. And we have also had this failure modes and effects analysis in the analysis phase, which is not only analysis phase, but we will also do in some of the phases. That also, I'll give you the overview of that, summary of that. Stakeholder management, how to make sure that the cross-functional team approach is taken care of. And then very important, how do you avoid some common pitfalls? And also, what are the documentation requirements in the analysis phase? All right. And the key takeaways. How many of you are ready? Type ready in the chat box. It's going to be a little theoretical, but I want you to bear with me but this is an important notes to take. Okay. This is professionalism. It might be commonsensical, but common sense is something that is not common. How many of you agree? Common sense is something that's not common. It might look like, yeah, this is a common sense, but all of us have to be aligned in the same thinking. And that's why I want to give you step-by-step summary and the checklist. And so the recap of the analysis phases, we already said this is a part of DMAC framework, right? Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Okay, analysis phase. And analysis phase focuses on identifying the causes and the root causes of problems. Now, transition data collection to the problem solving, because in the measure phase, we collected data. And now in the analyze phase, we are going towards problem solving through analysis. We use a lot of statistical tools, some of the tools that we are going to talk about. And this is central to improving the process performance, and very, very important. This aligns the findings with organizational goals. Whatever we are finding, whether we are moving into the direction of our organizational goal, it's like a compass. Every time you need to check whether you are in the right direction. When you're ship, they always check the compass, right? and avoid assumptions and data-driven analysis. All of you type DDA in the chat box. Okay, very, very important statement. DDA, data-driven analysis. No assumptions, okay? Because now it is data-based decision-making, data-driven analysis. Thank you very much. And this forms the foundation for the improve phase. What is the purpose of this toll gate? Let's quickly dive into that. It ensures that the critical aspects of analysis phase is addressed. Okay, that's the purpose, because we should not skip anything in this phase. And it also verifies the identification of root causes. There is a checklist to say whether you found the causes, whether the causes are listed, organized, and whether the root cause is identified and all that. And it is not only that you as an individual, but all the stakeholders. Okay, well, who are the stakeholders? We called the sponsors, we called the champions, we called the team members. Okay, we call subject matter experts. All of them are aligned with the findings and validate statistical conclusions. Now, after you do some analysis, you validate the conclusions. Everybody must be agreeable on that. And the data speaks for itself. Okay, the data should speak, not the humans. So assess the data quality is sufficient for decision making. Yeah, we are also testing sufficiency of data and providing a structured approach and prepares the team for the improve phase. Now, very important, if there are any errors and this thing, it is checked off in the toll gate before going into the improve phase. Okay, so far if it is clear, type SC, super clear in the chat box as I move towards the next. Okay, let me ask you a question and answer. How many of you are ready for the question and answer? A quick question. Ready? Okay, what is the primary purpose of the analysis toll gate? What is the primary purpose of analysis toll gate in Lean Six Sigma? Okay, implementation of process changes to solve problems, identify and validate the root causes of process issues, collects raw data from stakeholders, and finalize solutions to identify the problems. Let me open up the chat box and there you go, your answer. Fantastic. Unanimously, it comes as B. So B must be the right answer. Identify and validate the root cause of the issues. Fantastic. Let me move on. Awesome. So the key component of analysis checklist. Let me see. This is going to be interesting. Okay. What are the key components? Take good notes, please. If you want, take the screenshot. That's also fine. The problem statement validation. You need to validate the problem statement. You have to make sure data is accurate and complete. You have to check whether all the root cause analysis tools and techniques are used. What are the methods used? What are the techniques that are used and whether they have used that are applicable? What are the root cause and analysis techniques that are applicable and what are the tools and methods that are used? And what is the result of hypothesis testing, stakeholders feedback, and whether it is aligned with the business goal or not? And finally, review and documentation. So these are the key checklist. Okay. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, if this is clear, give me 9 or 10 if it is super, super clear. On a scale of 1 to 10, if you're very clear about this, please give me a 9 or 10. Let's go to validate problem statement. So first we said problem statement should be validated, right? That's the first one. Let me go to the problem statement validation. Ensure problem statements are clear and concise. I'm not going to explain in depth. This is a simple English, but quickly going through that, take good notes. Ensure problem statements are clear and concise. Align statement with measure phase outcomes. Because your problems and what you found out after measuring should be aligned, because whatever you found out should not be different from what your problem is. Validate your problem scope and boundaries. Because sometimes what happens is they'll go out of the scope and go all over. So make sure that whatever that you have done is validate that the problem scope and boundaries are as discussed. Verify stakeholder consensus. Very good. All of you, all of them should be agreeable on the problem statements. Okay. Avoid overgeneralization or vague phrasing. In many of the cases, I've seen the problem statement itself is not clear. Okay, everybody will think in a different way about the problems. How many of you can relate this? Type ICR. I can relate in the chat box. Let's see. How many of you can relate? Because when you ask about the problem, everybody knows there is a problem. But when you ask about the problem statement, everybody will articulate and say in their own terminologies, right? So avoid overgeneralization or vague phrasing of the statement. All right. Ensure focus on specific measurable issues. and check alignments with the project goals. So if this is clear, type crystal clear CC in the chat box. Okay. And this is a simple English statement. You can take a picture of this. This is just a quick pointers that I'm giving you so that you can be absolutely clear. Very, very useful. Okay. Very, very useful. So confirm relevance to the business objective. That's also alignment to the business objective. Okay. Now let's go into now that problem statement we've seen data accuracy and completeness. That's very, very important. Ensure that there are a lot of data, I say. Sometimes, the data should be sufficient, necessary, correct, and complete. All of you type NSCC in the chat box. NSCC in the chat box. Data should be necessary data, sufficient data, correct data, complete data. Necessary, sufficient, correct, and complete data. Now, data can be different types. How many of you have seen manipulated data? Type I can relate in the chat box. How many of you have seen cooked data? How many of you have seen biased data? How many of you have seen irrelevant data? How many of you have seen, there are a lot of types of data that I can show. So it is very important that, biased and manipulated, all that data. Okay, so it's very, very important that we ensure data sources are reliable and valid. Validate data collection methods from the measure phase, because the way that you collect the data should be validated and address missing and inconsistent data points, because there might be some outliers. We have spoken about outliers. We have seen about, special causes of variation and stuff like that. So those are things that has to be validated. Biased data collection not allowed, and statistical assumptions, normality, randomness. We have seen in statistical analysis, we have seen if data is normal or random. Okay, conduct a data cleansing process if required, because it has to be a clean data, and ensure sufficient sample size. We've also talked about sample size and different types of sample size, and review data quality with the team members. Now, if this was clear, okay, data accuracy and completeness was clear, type super clear SC in the chat box. Let me go into root cause analysis technique. Here, I'm just going to give you the overview of different techniques that we have seen in the analysis phase. We have seen fishbone diagram, which is called Ishikawa diagram. Okay, we have seen 5Y analysis. We have seen Pareto analysis. We have seen failure modes and effects analysis. We have seen test of hypothesis. And very important is we have to collaborate with cross-functional teams, avoid jumping into conclusions without evidence. And finally, we need to validate through simulations and pilot test. Okay, this is simple. All these techniques are in depth, were covered in the earlier sessions. Stay back till the end. I'll share with all the presentations, and I'll also give you opportunities to access all these videos. Now, very important, finally, we need to document all these findings systematically. Okay, the question: which tool is commonly used in root cause analysis during analysis phase? Okay, control charts, project charter, Ishikawa diagram, and Gantt chart. Okay, just now we have discussed, so the answer must be simple. Okay, since it's a theoretical steps, if you're finding it interesting, useful, valuable, fantastic, awesome, put it in the chat box so that I know that you're finding a good value out of today's session. So a summary of the hypothesis testing results. And clearly defined in hypothesis, we spoke about null and alternative hypothesis, p-values for significance, type 1, type 2 errors, validating assumptions, easy to understand format, document all the statistical outputs, confirming alignment of result to business goals, and all that in the analysis phase. So if you want to know about this, you can access my previous videos. I'll share towards the end of the session. I will share all the formats also. So highlight actionable insights from the hypothesis testing. So the question here is, what is the significance of validating statistical significance during? What is the significance of validating statistical significance during analysis phase? To ensure that stakeholders' feedback is incorporated, to confirm the root cause are supported by data, to identify potential risk and process changes, and to document results for the control phase. Let's see some quick answers here. Yeah, to confirm that root causes are supported by data. And probability and performance, we have to ensure that CP, CPK are done. We have to identify gaps between current and desired performance. We have to analyze control charts for process stability. We have to evaluate potential for variation reduction, examine input or output process relationship, highlight process performance, identify areas requiring immediate attention. And again, I'm not going to explain all this, but I'll share with you this presentation so that you have this as a checklist in your mind to proceed further. Now, in failure analysis, we have spoken about, since this is a quick recap of the entire analysis phase, I'm going through quickly. I hope you're finding it useful. I just wanted to confirm one more time whether you are finding it useful. Type useful in the chat box, super useful in the chat box. I'll at least feel happy that, I'm doing the recap of the entire analysis phase before, as I'm giving you the Tollgate checklist also. And people who are new to this session, don't worry, you will have presentations. You become a lifelong learner of this community, and you will learn all this again and again and again. All that you need is the attitude to learn, that's all. Okay, identify potential risk and failure. So we have spoken about RP and also severity occurrence detection. We have ranked the failures, highlighted critical points for intervention, engaged stakeholders for prioritization, and create risk mitigation strategies and document findings for review. So this is what all that we have seen in failure mode and effect analysis. Those of you who missed, don't worry, presentations, videos, all that will be available. Okay, stakeholder engagement. This is a common sense. Gather feedback from key stakeholders, use structured meeting surveys for inputs, align finding with stakeholder expectations, address conflicts, disagreements constructively, validate root causes with stakeholders, ensure feedback documented for review. This is simple. All of you type simple in the chat box. This is nothing. All that you need is just align, have it as a checklist, and ensure that this is done. Incorporate suggestion into future analysis and build stakeholder confidence in the process. Okay, what is the purpose of stakeholder engagement during analysis phase? To approve the final solution, to gather feedback and finding and build consensus, to assess the financial impact of the changes, to finalize the project charter and scope. Absolutely, to actually gather feedback on finding. All of you type B in the chat box. Okay, alignment with the business goals. Ensure that the analysis aligns with the project goals. Financial and operational impacts should be validated. Check for alignment with customer expectations. Confirm process improvement objective or realistic. Ensure findings are actionable and measurable. Highlight any risks associated, identified causes, and present business case for addressing the root cause. Okay, again, I'm not explaining each and everything. This is also pretty straightforward and simple. All that you need to do is take a screenshot or write notes, or I'll share these presentations and ensure in your project that these are all done. Secure approval for before advancing to the improve phase. And documentation requirements, very important documentation requirements is document analysis finding comprehensive. Document all the analysis findings comprehensively. You have to document that. And use clear visuals like bars and charts. We have learned about graphical analysis. Ensure technical terms are well explained. Align documentation format with organizational standards. Include a summary of validated root causes. Provide evidence of all the conclusions drawn, and share the findings with the project stakeholders, and archive the document for future reference. So if this is clear, type crystal clear CC in the chat box. And last couple of slides I will bring. Now, the common pitfalls to avoid. This is very important. Pay attention. Let's pay attention to this. This is very important. Incomplete or biased data collection should be avoided. Misalignment of team members on the findings. Many times we find team members are misaligned, right? How many of you can relate to this? Team members not aligned. ICR. Please type ICR if you can relate to this. Many of you will type ICR now, right? Right. I know. This is a common problem, right? Okay. Overlooking critical root causes. Sometimes critical root causes will skip. Okay. Incorrect statistical analysis or assumptions. Lack of stakeholder buy-in. Somebody will not buy in with your data analysis, right? And poor documentation of findings, insufficient use of appropriate tools and techniques, delay in completing of the analysis. Delays always happen. Project delays always happen. So now let us see the final checklist for moving into the improve phase. Problem statement has to be validated and approved. Okay. Then root cause should be identified and verified. Statistical analysis have to be completed, documented. Tick, tick, tick. Okay. All of you put a tick in the checkbox, emoji tick. We have an emoji tick in this thing. Okay, statistical analysis completed and documented. Put a tick. Stakeholder feedback integrated into findings. Put a tick. Alignment with business objectives. Tick. Risk and opportunity documented. Tick. Okay, Tollgate checklist completed and approved. All of you put a tick for this. Tollgate checklist completed and approved. All of you put a tick for this, okay? And team prepared for moving into the improve phase. So key takeaways. Analysis phase drives data-based decision making. How many of you agree with this? Validating findings ensure actionable insights. Root cause analysis is essential for sustainable solutions. How many of you agree with this? Stakeholder alignment strengthen project outcomes. How many of you agree with this? Documentation is critical for transparency. How many of you agree with this? Avoid jumping into solutions without proper validation. Agreed? Proper preparation ensures smooth Tollgate review. Agreed? And sets the stage for improve phase. So the question here is this. Which of the following is not typically part of the analysis phase checklist? Identify process failures, validating measurement systems, implementing solutions, analyzing trends and patterns. Implementing solutions is the right answer, okay? We are not implementing solutions in the analysis phase. And there we come to the end of chapter 14.